Hello, today I continue talking about repositories with Azure DevOps. In my previous video, if you didn't watch it, if you didn't watch that video, I recommend to go back and watch it because I explain the different way that you can add a repository to your Azure DevOps. Today I'm gonna talk about security options. You can configure which member has permission to delete, to create branch, to create tags. How can you specify? How can you allow people to forward your repository? How can you enforce your developers to add in the commit your word item ID and that kind of thing? You can get more traceability. So if you go to your repositories, you can see here in the top that you can go um, you will have the list of repositories, and also you will have a managed repository. This one is for configuration. That's one way that you go there. As you can see, this one is going to be under project settings configuration, and in the section repos you will have two configurations. So if we go back to the project, the other way that you can get there is if you go to project settings, and then you will see under the sections, you will see the repository. So either way, you can use both paths to get here. And here you will see that global configuration and other repositories under this under that configuration. So you can go by a specific projects and then configure one by one, or you can do global configuration and then custom configuration per project. So what kind of configuration Azure DevOps allow you to do for your repository? The first one is the security. You can configure security. What does that mean? You can, for example, you have build administrator, and then you can allow here or deny if you don't allow, for example, to build contributors to create branch or to create repositories. Maybe only project administrators are allowed to create repositories and branch, and then the build administrator are only allowed, for example, to create, let's say, tag and that kind of things, that kind of configuration you can handle here in this section. If you go to auctions, is the second one. Um, let's say, let's go by projects. Here is they don't have just Gravatar information, but if you go by project, then you have couple of there. You have four auctions here that you can create force. You can commit and mention in items, and then you can do transitions when you're moving one item. Based on the pull request, you can add the commit in there. As you see in the last one, you can create that kind of commit ID based on your word items if you want to close or you want to gain traceability and visibility in your process, in the workflow, related with your items and also related with your code and new changes. And the last one is going to be policies. What is the meaning of policies? So you can validate the email, you can create case sensitive, or you can create rules to block someone or any developer that is pushing any specific pattern to your branch. You can enforce, you can avoid case-sensitive conflicts when you have folders with uppercase, lowercase, so that kind of things. You can see reserver name for a specific folder that you have in your project. You don't want to be overridden and that kind of things. So you have also you have the option to specify the maximum path. So something like this we have in the repository. So when you enable, you will see the maximum number of characters. You can change it to, let's say, if you can do this. Yeah, that's possible. You can change it whatever you want. Um, and the last one, for example, you have maximum file size. So you can specify what is the maximum size for a specific file. So with this one, you can enforce people, for example, to developer to, for example, don't push, let's say, binaries or package dependency, that kind of thing. So you can enforce them to use your artifact repositories. It doesn't matter if it's Azure artifacts or it's any artifacts like Nexus or any other. So basically, in the repository, you specify security, uh, who has the permission to do what. Then you have options to force, to commit, and then you specify policies to enforce quality of your repository. And then the cross repo policies, you can do pull request cross repo, and then you want to add branch protection. So you can create by default, or you can specify, let's say you have feature, and then anything on the feature, I want to create a branch protection. And what does that mean? Okay, if you're gonna do a pull request cross repositories, I would like to add, for example, a minimum of reviewers because that is important. I don't want anyone to make an error. I want to bring a couple of people involved in the process of approving that request. You can check for what items related with that specific pull request and that kind of thing. You can do limit merge like, okay, I would like to allow only maybe a squash, but I don't want to rebate and fast forward. You can do, it's really flexible. We don't have any pipeline build in this project and on any of these repositories, but you can add build policies when you are doing request changes. That's something that is pretty flexible. You can read more about this in the documentation. This one for require approval for external service or additional services is this is one is you create a service from your where you do some kind of automation. For example, let's say that you have a REST API and then you want to get these notifications right here when something changes. For example, when you create an item or when you close an item or when you do a pull request, you want to get that information, and then you can create that evaluation before accepting the push request. If you hit the button here, learn more, they give you an example how to create pull request status service with Node.js, and they explain you how to do that process. You have a server, and then you do you need to configure web hubs, and then you will get that notification, and then you do the process there. Like you will get something like this. It's pretty tricky, but it's really flexible, allows you to do your own automation process and validations. And the last one is automate. How can you add reviewers to your process? It's pretty simple. You can do optional required, and then you can specify path, and a requester can approve their own changes. Maybe you want to disable this one because you don't want me to. You don't want to allow requester that they can approve their own changes. So that's pretty smart things to do. So basically, this part is just about this. If you have any question related with these repositories or cross-repository configurations, you have any issues on your project, let me know with a comment in the video. I will try to answer as soon as possible. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.